Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Stepping into Our Feminine, Fierce Divinity at this most magical time on the planet. I'm here with world influencer Meena Puri. Welcome, Meena.
Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Kornelia. So glad to be here.
Yes, and I'm also here with Trish Campbell, also world influencer. Welcome to this episode. Hi, Trish.
Hi to both of you. Thanks for having me here.
Hi, Trish.
Hi, Meena.
So yeah, I thought right now we could just have a very candid, open conversation about the fears that people are having, because I'm finding I'm like different people, clients, friends, I'm seeing that they want to leap, they want to say yes to their big dreams, their big visions. And so they might feel like, yeah, I want to do this right now, or did, take the leap yesterday. And then today, the shadow parts come up after you take the leap. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, because suddenly you're faced like with the belief system.
Yeah.
Showing itself to you that you don't trust the universe, that you don't trust yourself in having taken that leap and trusting. And so, what I want to talk about is saying yes to your future self.
Yes, very important. Yeah, it's a great topic to have a conversation on. And what you just said, Cornelia, about when they say yes, and then the next day their past conditioning and beliefs show up. If we can recognize that that's actually part of the process. It's a part of the process. If the resistance is showing up, resistance actually is part of the process, because we are resisting something. So something, our inner self is kind of revolting, saying, no, 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 go for it. I want this. This is my dream. This is what I truly desire. Then the ego resists, because now there's something to resist. So to recognize that any kind of pulling back and going back and forth is actually part of the process. So they're actually making progress.
They're making progress only if they have the recognition that this is happening, instead of closing the doors.
Exactly.
Because when you've taken the leap and you said yes to something, and then you retract and pull back to cancel the leap, that's not the way to do it.
So you don't want to close the door and hide. It's like, oh, this is not for me. I was mistaken. This is for those people over there.
Right.
To recognize, oh, this is a process. I'm going to go through it and see.
And realizing, oh, right now I'm afraid. And like, oh, right now I'm being faced with my shadow parts, where I'm being shown that, oh, I really don't trust this part of myself right now. And that this is part of the process, so that I can, what is this show about, this topic? It's about stepping into our feminine power.
Feminine power, feeling.
Right, feeling and trusting. And that's part of stepping into our divine femininity, is leading in trust, that like really feel what it feels like to be able to lean into trusting yourself more.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's the ultimate embodiment of the divine feminine, is trust. And going back to what you said, Amina, like that is a perfect reframe to include that as part of the process of stepping into something new, whatever your dreams are, your goals. I think what ends up happening is when we get into that new space, it's unfamiliar. So what do? We cling to what we know, even if it's not good for us. And it's just like in a relationship, for example, if it's not good for us, but it's all we know. So we cling to that when we're in a space that's unfamiliar and we don't know what it holds for us. But if we can just let go of that, have the awareness, like you said, and include that in as part of our process, then it's easier to, let go of that ego and embrace the trust that we're being guided intuitively to answer those calls that are coming from our soul. That's what these dreams are. That's what, the goals we set, the desires we have, that's where that's coming from. So
Meena, I love what you said, Trish. By the way, we have Olivia Parrud. She's in the audience.
Hi, Olivia.
Olivia.
Olivia, one of our influencers in the Kornelia Stephanie Media.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. She's here with us, and she's also saying the Divine Feminine leadership. And so I had 2 clients, Meena, that were signing up with different programs and want this thing. There's Susan. Hi, Susan. Not from our group, but hi, Susan.
Someone else. Okay.
Nice to see you. So they wanted to, this dream for themselves to sign up for this program, and so that they can expand and that they can grow. They took that leap, and then the next day they're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh my God, I don't know how this is going to work.
So,
and because that is the shadow part that's coming up, that is in fear, in the next day, in the light, in this intensity, in the energy, and then you get to look at your own thoughts in the way that you're leading your life, the divine feminine in you. How is she stepping up to the present moment with what it is that she wants, and with what it is that she wants to materialize? Is she modeling the future self of trust and being in prayer and, commanding? I got this. I believe in myself. I got this. Right. So that's, yeah.
There's I want to speak to the shadow that you mentioned. So it's just, if we it's changing our relationship with the shadow. So think of the shadow self was developed when we were younger. Its job and purpose was to keep us safe. It was a safety mechanism because survival was at stake.
Right.
Survival is our first and foremost necessity, and it was at stake. So whatever we needed to do, we did to survive. So if we can look at the shadow self and really offer some gratitude and some appreciation of what this younger version is trying to do, is really trying to keep you safe. Because it's afraid if you took the leap, you might fall flat on your face.
Yeah,
and then you're going to get hurt. If you do this, you're going to be judged, or you're really not good enough. Like, you're comfortable over there. So recognizing the role of the shadow and saying, I see you. I know why you were there. Thank you so much for keeping me safe. But we're going to transcend that pattern. But the younger version of us gets to come with us. But the pattern remains. That we have grown up. We are safe. So you have served your purpose. So that's how we bring shadow into the light. So we become whole.
Yeah, I love that. That is how we integrate the shadow.
Yeah.
And that is how we talk to our fears.
Exactly.
We acknowledge, I know you're afraid. You can call it shadow. You can call it ego. You can call it the wounded self, the lower self. But basically, it's to say, I know you're afraid, and I got you.
So it's like the shadow and the fears are the gatekeepers.
Yeah. Before it was important because they kept you safe, and before that was the function of that. And now we're trusting the heart, and we're trusting the intuitive and the authentic self to lead.
Yeah.
The divine feminine to lead. And we're trusting that by modeling it. So when it happens, like it happened right now, which is when I said, I want to talk about this today, because I'm seeing this play out in the collective right now, in the collective woman, where she's afraid and she is not trusting herself when she's taken the leap and she's made choices to realize, like Meena said, it's
Mhm.
part of the process.
Yeah.
And it's
Of
going to
course,
be
it's going to be there. Of course, the
Mhm.
fear and the shadow is going to be there. They're always going to be there. How it's your relationship to it. How do you view that, right?
Mhm.
So we have now grown up. We know that, where do I want to go? What's
Mhm.
my heart's calling? So we're really kind of trapped between
right.
the fear of the ego and the heart's calling. We're like, like, I don't, we're kind of teeter-tottering. We're not fully there. So even if we make 4 steps in the direction of our heart's calling, and if there's one step pulling us back, let it be okay. Just say, okay,
Mhm.
I'm still 3 steps ahead. So the little bit of fear is okay. So it's going to go hand in hand. The more we trust, and when we trust and we take a step and we experience what that trust feels like in the body,
Mhm.
oh, this is actually okay. Where is the fear? We're actually
Mhm.
okay. Then it gives them more confidence. Then you build a relationship with your own intuitive flow, your own power to trust. And you're like, it's okay. This is what
Yeah.
happens when I trust. I actually am okay.
That's yeah. I want to say just to add on to that, when you do that, when you have that little bit of fear, but you take that step forward, that's where the transformation happens, because it happens in the cells of your body, the embodiment of that trust. Even if it's a small amount, that's where that happens. And the other thing I wanted to say too is to go back to integrating that fear and the shadow into the process, is like that is the way, that is part of the process. Like what we fear failure, we feel we're not going to be enough or whatever that is, but that failure is actually a part of the process. It's not like we've been set up in this trap of thinking we have to be perfect or we can't go out there and do
It's
whatever
the
it is we
whole
need to do.
picture. It's holism.
Yeah, it's wholeness. Having that failure is not
Yeah.
a darkness. It's not a dark spot. It's actually part of the wholeness of whatever it is we're creating.
It's
So
all of you get to be here. Your
yeah, it's just like,
fears, your trust, everybody gets to have a seat on the table.
yeah, it's true to our humanity. That's who we are and our authentic selves.
Yeah.
Well, how are we going to meet the authentic self and experience the future self if we don't have the experience?
Yeah.
It's
So
right.
those, we have to have the experience. I mean, and we live in a contrast. We
Mhm.
live and we heal through contrast. We remember through contrast. So the whole point is that this experience of where it feels intense and where the shadow is up and where we're afraid, and we can see, right now this is the most evolutionary time to be here, and for me to use this experience to evolve,
Mhm.
and for me to use this experience to open up more, and to know and trust that whatever I need, whatever I need to expand, it's going to be provided no matter what. And I trust that. I
Mhm.
trust that opening. I trust that knowing. I welcome that in. And when you sit with that and
Mhm.
be with that curiosity in the midst of the shadow,
That's
that
where the possibilities are. That's where
Mhm.
the potentiality lies.
Yeah.
It's in the sometimes, that's a dilemma.
yeah,
It's the dilemma is, come over here. I'm going to show you something, but the willingness isn't there.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I know that it really can, I don't know, work is be in wherever people are, be in total acceptance of where you are. If you are
Mhm.
filled with fear and saying no, no way, because and if that's where you are, there's no judgment on it. It's not good, it's not bad.
yeah.
When you can accept it totally, you know what, that's where I am, and just see how that feels. So what acceptance does is a radical acceptance
Mhm.
and loving yourself anyways.
Mhm.
That kind of acceptance, then it's like, oh, I'm free, like this doesn't feel so right. And when the playing field is even, the inner voice says, but what about over there? Remember we
Mhm.
were going there? Like, how about it? Because there's no defense mechanism at play here. They're like, well, you know what, I feel freer. I feel freer to give it a try. I have more energy to endure whatever the uncertainty or the possibility or the fears might be, because they are moving from a place of acceptance. When they're accepting what's happening, there's a connection with their deeper self.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to be okay no matter where we are. Even if we are down in the dumps, if we can be okay with being down in the dumps, guess what
Mm-hmm.
happens? We no longer will be down in the dumps.
Right. I love that.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the fears.
Yeah.
Is that when you speak to the fear and name the fear, identify the fear, call
Yeah.
it out, what
Mm-hmm.
happens is the fear of, I'm afraid of this, I'm
Yeah.
afraid of this, I'm afraid. Once you speak it out, it loses its power.
It neutralizes.
The same way that when you calm the ego and you
Yeah.
say, okay, I know you're afraid. You don't have to feel this way. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Mhm.
You know, this is what I did, you know, when I first started flipping the paradigm back in the day, when I was asking, I began working with my ego in, I think back in the day, it was like 30-day increments.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was. It was basically because how it came to be is that I was at a restaurant, and I was when the restaurant the party was over, I was sitting in the car, and I was definitely already getting ready to take another leap and getting ready to make that move, and I heard my ego screaming at me out of the top of its lungs, what about me? Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, don't do this.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Don't do this. What about me? What about, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? And I'm like, wait a minute now. I can't be taking action to have like a 3-year-old screaming at me out of the top of your lungs. You know, so that is when I said, okay, listen, we're going to go home now and we're going to have a little conversation, but I can't have you screaming at me and, you know, in front of people having a temper tantrum. And that's when I realized how afraid the ego was. And
The ego was. You know, I'm going to say a little bit about that. There's a little tool, a little twist, a tweak. So the structure of ego is, it's meant to fail. It just takes us entire life to figure that out. So we don't need to be done with the ego. Actually, we need ego. So what I tell my clients is like, let's put the ego, put it into the heart, let it see through the eyes of the heart. So call it heart-based ego. Where the heart is leading, the ego is like, okay, I'm still useful to you. Don't abandon me. I'll follow you. I like that. We like that because you're giving me to expand me through a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if the fear is coming in, once you put the fear into the heart, you know, anything we put into the heart, you are already upping the vibration, the frequency of it. And you're like, oh, I'm fear, but maybe not so much. It feels softer. I'm not edgy anymore. The resistance has softened. So like, maybe I'll consider it. So all of a sudden I still get to be here, but I get this bigger view. I get this bigger view of possibilities that, wow, I really may get to play here a lot more than I thought possible. So, you know, this tool always works with people because we need ego. We need the ego. We never get done with the ego. Can we integrate the ego? It's disintegrated. We've been living in the times of disintegrated, in the mental flow, right? It's ego. Nobody questioned it because the whole world was like that. Now we come
and a lot of spiritual teachers, you know, back in the day and still today have said, you know, get rid of the ego.
Ego is bad. Yeah. Absolutely not.
No. And I love that little tool that you shared. But before I knew about your little tool, when I was experiencing my ego, the way that I worked with it is I said, okay, I understand you are afraid. And I said, and you have been protecting me all my life. And I appreciate that so much. I said, but now Spirit is in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And now Spirit is going to be leading the way. And I have to be able to make room for Spirit to follow my Spirit without hesitation. And I can't have you screaming at me the whole time. So it was basically a
conversation,
between me and my ego that I talked out. And I said, here's what I said. This is how I set it up. I said, for the next 30 days, this is what I mean. For the next 30 days, do you agree that
I love that.
You're not going to be screaming, you're not going to be having tantrums, you're not going to be pushing me, that we're going to build this level of trust for 30 days. We're going to be allowing Spirit to lead us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're both going to be watching, but this is how we're building the trust. So it's like almost like a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
It will, like, you open your heart to the ego and say, come in, but you get to go sit over there until I call you.
Yeah, it's changing the dynamic of the relationship, and it's still acknowledging ego as part of it. But it's like, and you do anything for 30 days and it's going to become natural. So that is so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. And that's how I started shifting the
Mm-hmm.
relationship between ego and Spirit, because when the paradigm, because the reason why it came into my awareness is because I was taking the leap to now make that paradigm shift and allow Spirit to lead entirely.
And ego showed up.
And ego was like, what about me?
Yeah.
What about me? It was like, so that was a big deal. And so I started working with the ego in 30-day increments, and then it depends on, the bigger the leap, the bigger the scream.
The scream,
over the time. And then we would always use, for 30 days, for 90 days, for 2 weeks.
To change a habit. It's wonderful because you put a little limitation. It's doable. It's not doable. Forever. It's like, let's give this a try. So there's a little softness to the raw ego saying, it's like, calm down. Let's try this. What do you think?
Yeah.
And it was done very lovingly. And that's why I knew I did not want to shame my ego or even send it to the corner or even say, shut up, or make the ego wrong or bad, because I know how appreciative I am of the life force and having been protected on this planet, and how I needed that protection.
Right. Absolutely.
So I learned how to trust and live in a state of surrender.
Exactly.
To be led by Spirit.
And we accept all of us, wholeness, right? We accept our ego. We need ego.
We need it.
We cannot be without ego. It just
we have to individuate. We have to be, we're uniquely, just like the three of us, we each have our own individual gifts.
Yes,
absolutely. That complete the whole, that brings so much value.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good to have different perspectives.
I love having the conversation and getting real about it. It's not book knowledge, people. It's experiential,
Yeah. And both of, and also your method, Meena, how you're sharing about dropping the ego into the heart. I mean, I think when we look at anything through our heart, and just like that relationship with ourselves is the most important relationship, and then all the other relationships we have benefit. It's the same concept.
Softens. We have that tool right here. It's a gadget. Think of it as a gadget. It softens everything.
It does.
And it expands everything, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this podcast and I'm going to take that link once we're complete, and I'm going to send it to the two ladies that inspired this conversation today.
Wonderful. Yeah, have them hear it.
It was actually probably 4 people I spoke to where their fears are 100% present, where either they're in a health challenge and they're believing the thoughts that they're thinking that they're going to die or something bad. They're choosing those thoughts that's up for them right now, and or financial resources. So that's what inspired this talk today, because I've talked to different people in the last 36 hours where these are the conversations I've had with them, to choose your thoughts And
thank you. No, it's a very common dilemma. It's a very
yeah,
common things that people go through because um, I've had that so much in my practice too. I know people are, they're hurting. They're
yeah,
hurting. They kind of peep up every once in a while, like, I really want to. And I'm like, sure, when you're ready, and I'll send them things to inspire them. So just all we can do is send it with the energy and the intention that something in this conversation, it speaks to them and inspires them to look up and take that next step, take whatever the next step, little small step in the direction. Even if speed doesn't matter, direction matters. So if they can take it in the direction, even if they can consider, maybe I'll give it another thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
then
you
you
never
said
know.
it earlier that when I said when we take the leap, the next day the shadow comes up
Yeah.
to show you what your belief system is so that you can transcend it
Mm-hmm.
and that you can move on. And
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing. You are an amazing manifesting master in your life. And so that's what you are. You're creating your dreams, you're
Yeah.
creating your reality every moment, each moment.
So
You're
really, we are each human being. We are the magic, right?
yeah,
Magic isn't out there. Even when we talk about ascension, there's no golden bridge to go over to ascend. It's in your own psyche,
yeah,
and it's been here all along. It's just that
yeah,
we never knew, we never saw that. So it's really, and the most beautiful thing about this tool mind, that it's so pliable. I can make the mind convince me of anything, because that's
Yeah.
what use is. So let's talk. Let me, and I tell my clients, I'm like, how do you know I'm not manipulating you into something?
Mm.
I'm talking you into something because I'm convinced of it. That's the purpose of it, because I have a data to back it up. So, use the mind in a way that is going to take you where you want to go. Where do you want to go?
yeah,
I think one of the best ways to do that is to go back to, I think you started off with this, is treating each moment as sacred, like having that
Yeah.
intention in each moment, it's a choice. And it's, you have that
And if
moment
you,
to pause.
yeah, and if you bring that your future self into this moment, into this holy moment, and you make
Mhm.
meaning in this moment where you know that let's lean into the trust, lean
Mm-hmm.
into the divine feminine, lean into what you really truly want, what you really truly want, and that is to be free. That is the trust spirit. That
Mm-hmm.
is
It's a
not
trust.
to be
Yeah.
moved by these thoughts that
Yeah.
are going to spin you down the rabbit hole. We can make the choice and choose the thoughts, just like we choose the sweater we put on. You
Right.
know,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's
That's one quick thing. This morning I woke up to a dreary day,
Mm.
heavy, dark, and the automatic response that can come, oh, and then I have done this enough, and I'm like, this is magic. I'm like, open your eyes and see the formation of the clouds. The clouds that are there today is never going to have the same formation.
Mm-hmm.
And before I even know it, the weather, like the outside darkness, did not do anything to my inner light. And I just carried on and thinking, look at how everything looks like. It was windy. I had to close the windows, and it was just like could have been a very sad day. So I
Mm-hmm.
made the choice. I'm like, no, 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 we're forward, not backward, forward. How do you, this is beautiful. Look at what you're seeing. You're never going to see this again.
Yeah.
So there's a choice. And sometimes it comes from the inside because you've done so much work. And sometimes just a mental will is willpower. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
dang it, I am going to choose to see this way. Give it a try and see what happens.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Is
Right?
overriding that lower.
Overriding that to give you that different experience. And then naturally you will come to that place where you don't have to think. You just
It's
are
just
naturally
natural. Yep.
lit up. So
Yeah.
start where you are. There's so much possible,
Yeah.
there's so much possible.
Now, we are the influencers in the KS Media Group app. We're inviting the public to come and join us as we engage
Mm-hmm.
with you to answer the universal question that we posed this week. Trish, can you remind us again
What it is?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the universal question is, what do you want more of in your life?
Ah,
I love that.
right. What about
Trust.
More trust. Yeah.
I want to trust more.
You know, I want to be free. I want to be expanded. I want to realize my dreams. I want to be my authentic self. I want to be more at peace and more at calm. You know,
Exactly. When you trust, you don't have to worry so much. Yep.
yeah. So go to your app store, download the KS Media Group app, and go, create your free account, and then go to the directory section where there is the universal question, and you can create your best life now together with us, because every week we are offering a new question. It has a private function that you can use that's only you can see, and every week we're asking you the prominent question, the question that's going to influence you to change your reality to the best of your liking. Yes.
Yeah, it's the support you're going to get. I mean, we're going to meet you there at the app, and not just us. There's so many of us, and we've got you covered. We've got our arms around you, because the app is about meeting the needs, meeting everybody's needs. You know why we know this? We've been there.
Yeah, you're so right.
Oh my
We've
God,
been there, guys.
Yeah, that's so good. We've been there. We totally have been there. We know what it's like to have these. The reason why we can tell you about the tools is we've had these experiences, and now, we've transcended this energy so that we can be in our new humanity, so that we can really truly be free and be those living examples of what it truly means to live and be who we are.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
These
anyway,
are times.
connect with your future self and say yes to yourself. Believe in yourself. We certainly do. We're certainly not going to let you fall short and not believe in yourself.
Yeah.
We are going to cheer you on and support you. So come and join our community. Thanks today, Trish, for just very quickly jumping on like you did.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
What is that noise? Something.
Just something that,
Meena, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the audience, Olivia and Susan, for joining us. And next time, we'll see you again on this wonderful podcast of stepping into our divine femininity. Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Kornelia and Trish.
Thank you. Bye.
See you soon.